Hi guys, welcome back to the Social Tune, and today we're going to take a look at the latest album slash mixtape by Drake called More Life.
I've been down so long it look like up to me. They look up to me. I got fake people showing fake love to me. Straight up to my face. Straight up to my face.
You know, I can't be the only one to find that title a little ironic, right? I mean, More Life from the guy who's ridiculously private about his past. Oh sure, he tells us that he started from the bottom and that he grew up in the six and that he, I don't know, has a mother. Other than that, I feel I know next to nothing about him from his music. Like most people, most of what I know about Drake comes from the tabloids and Wikipedia. And in all honesty, I think I would like Drake a lot more if he made his music about his starring days in Degrassi. It would probably be a lot more compelling. But it probably wouldn't sell as well, which, let's be honest, is the main reason that Drake makes music, not because it matters to him. And considering he released yet another overly long project, coincidentally just a couple of weeks after Ed Sheeran's massive album Divide, it seems that he felt that his wallet was starting to feel a couple of millions lighter than he prefers. And considering how much I hated Views, which ended up on my list of the worst albums of last year, and considering how bad the lead-off singles were, I was not looking forward to this. Still, you guys wanted it, you wanted my thoughts on this album, so here they are. It's really, really okay. It's meh. It's middle of the road. It's mostly inoffensive. And yes, it is a little bit better than Views, albeit not by much. However, one improvement, at least partially, is the production.
Passionate from miles away. Passive with the things you say. Passing up on my always, I can't blame you, no.
So one of my big problems with Views is that it was so dull, with very samey dancehall instrumentation across the entire album. Here, Drake doesn't pull on dancehall and tropical beats quite as often, instead borrowing from grime, a style of hip-hop that has been growing in popularity for a while now, particularly in the UK. And while some hip-hop purists will probably be pissed off that a lot of people will now associate Drake with their first exposure to grime, it's at least a bit more interesting. Like, take the opening track, Free Smoke. Sure, it's lyrically generic and the actual hook is kinda silly, but at least the beat had some bite to it and Drake sounded energetic. Still, that's only part of this album, as a lot of these songs are the same dull Afrobeat dance songs that I've unfortunately come to expect from Drake at this point. Like, take the looping beat and keys that stretch into the 5-minute song Sacrifices. Or that familiar boring dancehall sound on Blem, where Drake puts on that phony accent that peppered Views, and boy is it irritating. It's still irritating on No Long Talk, but at least the beat made up for it on that track with some nice swell to it. And while Passionfruit does contain certain dancehall elements, at least Drake's singing sounded good and the beat had a nice melody to it. Or hell, take the pretty damn gorgeous Get It Together, which despite being a dancehall track, unlike say One Dance, actually sounds like it cost more than $10 to make, with some great swell and great performances. However, in the same way that the dancehall production can occasionally be good, the grime production doesn't really work across the entire album, as is clearly shown on Gyal Chester, which is completely lacking in a personality or a hook. Or heck, sometimes Drake doesn't steal from either genre, like the wonky, rubbery beat on the lead-off single Fake Love, which sounded like a cheaper, less catchy Hotline Bling, and boy did I hate it. And then you get this album's Marvin's Room in the hazy, atmospheric track Nothing's Into Somethings, which reminded me more than a little bit of Bryson Tiller's Don't, which is already insufferable enough on its own, and then you have the lyrics, which I'll get to in a bit. True, the following track, Teenage Fever, is also a bit of a hazy mess, but at least that track had a pulse. But then again, maybe the reason that I was finding so many of the tracks dull at that point in the album is because of how fucking long this project is. I mean, this playlist is 22 tracks long and stretches to over an hour and 20 minutes. It's as if Drake saw that Future released 2 overly long projects and said, you know what, I could beat that. And just like on Views, the back half of this album is just all so samey and monotone. Although thankfully, unlike on that album, our guest performers actually do mostly break up the monotony.
You say you change, but you never change. 44, 22. You build it up to breaking halfway through. Just make the call. 22.
Now obviously, not everyone impressed me, as Party Next Door is as interesting as he's always been on all of Drake's projects, which is to say utterly dull and pointless. But I will say that while 2 Chainz doesn't really elicit any reaction from me on Sacrifices, at least Young Thug's verse had some energy and personality to it, which is more than I can say for Travis Scott or Quavo, both of whom are on autopilot on Portland. Now, while I did still find him compelling, I didn't like Young Thug quite as much on Ice Melts, mainly due to the constant repetition of Jerry in the background. What are you, Mr. Meeseeks? But on the bright side, Skepta is the only rapper who shows up on Skepta Interlude, and predictably, he absolutely bodies Drake in terms of bars and energy across this album. It's not even fair. And speaking of getting outshone by your guests, Sampha shows up on 4422 to basically make the song all his own. And yeah, it was a bit of a mistake to put him on this album because by comparison, Drake sounds like a second grader who's just been forced to the front of the class to sing unexpectedly. And then you have the great performances of Jorja Smith and Black Coffee on Get It Together. They do a great job. Heck, even Kanye fares better than Drake on his track Glow because, well, at least he brought some energy to his performance. So, what about the lyrics?
You don't know me, you better get to know me. Stand up tall right next to Kobe. A young G, I had the weapon on me. Slice up work like pepperoni. The police still arrest the homies. No statement, no testimony. Spit in your face with extra bogey. It's my time, I don't flex a rollie. On cloud 9, a man's extra cozy.
Okay, now I know a lot of people don't listen to Drake for the lyrics or the content. So let me emphasize, this is not directed at you. What I'm going after are the people who take Drake seriously as a rapper, or hell, people who see him as a smooth ladies man who has a way with words. Because dear God, this guy's songs about his relationships with women are so damn toxic. Like on Free Smoke, where he admits to drunk texting Jennifer Lopez. Or on Nothing's Into Somethings, where he bitches at Serena Williams for not telling him that she got engaged, despite the fact that they were already broken up. Now, of course, not every song here is about that, as most of these songs are just built for you to dance to, which is probably building off of the massive success of One Dance last year. And the content we do get barely matters or surprises at this point. Heck, a song like Sacrifices barely contains any sacrifices in the lyrics.
I need someone that loves me.
You need me to get that shit together so we can get together. You need me to get that shit together.
But the biggest difference on this project compared to some of his previous ones like Views comes down to one big factor: self-awareness. Like take Can't Have Everything, where not only does he call his haters arrogant, not only does he try to justify the fact that he keeps his diss tracks purposefully vague, but his mother comes in at the end to tell him to just keep taking the high road. And I'm sorry, Drake is not known for taking the high road, from the way he bitches at women to the fact that he never lets things go. Which he proves on this album with even more disses directed at Meek Mill. For God's sake, it's been almost 2 years, get over it! Or on Lose You, where he says that people aren't giving him the recognition he deserves as an MC. Which kind of contradicts his bragging on Galchester, where he says he's not top 5, he's top 2, and number 2 ain't him. Or on Fake Love, where he's whining that people don't like him for the right reasons. Well, girls may be more inclined to like you if you didn't constantly reveal what a whiny bitch you can be. But But honestly, the most telling parts of this album are the contributions from Skepta and Sampha. Because remember, both of these guys show up on their own songs with absolutely no contributions from Drake. And while I know someone out there will compare this to the excellent Dr. Dre track One Shot, One Kill, which only featured Snoop Dogg and John Connor on vocals, at least Dre provided the production on that track, unlike Drake, who provides nothing to these ones. And that's what really annoyed me about this album. The fact that Drake is calling this a playlist, which basically gives Drake a free pass to put whatever he wants on this album, from songs where he is nowhere to be found, to the multiple samples from Earth, Wind and Fire, Jennifer Lopez, Lionel Richie, and that's just to name a few. Which is what ultimately pushed me over the edge, because this album feels so lazy while simultaneously being way too long. And worst of all, many people have praised Drake for this, calling him a revolutionary in music distribution. All of this, plus the fact that it isn't anything close to impressive, gave me a serious headache while listening through this playlist. I have no doubt that Drake fans will love this, and more power to them. But as someone who used to be a big Drake fan, he's becoming less stomachable to me by the day, and I am so sick of hearing about him. So yeah, it's a strong 4 out of 10, and I assume I'll be unable to escape this album for the next few months. Joy. There are some good songs that elevated above Views for me, but still, I have no wish to return to this anytime soon. So, thank you guys for watching. If there are any other albums coming out in the next month or so, please post them in the comments or tweet them at me so I can listen to them and possibly review them. You'll find a link to my Twitter in the description. Feel free to follow me if you'd like. Please subscribe so you don't miss a thing, and until the next time, I'm Finn, and this is The Social Tune, signing off.